Hey movie junkies, welcome back to Twin Flicks, where we always here celebrating the magic of movies and most importantly, physical media with you. Now this video is kind of a special video because I've been really looking forward to reviewing this title since it was announced last year that they were doing a whole new 4K restoration on it, and Second Sight it has released it, and it is Peter Weir's Picnic at Hanging Rock. Now, Picnic at Hanging Rock is director Peter Weir's second feature film. Peter Weir later went on to direct such classics as Witness with Harrison Ford, Mosquito Coast with Harrison Ford, Robin Williams with Dead Poets Society, Jim Carrey with The Truman Show, and my personal favorite, Russell Crowe with Master and Commander. And as an Australian filmmaker, Peter Weir ushered in a new generation of filmmakers in Australia. And it was this film in particular that helped open up the doors and brought Australian film more towards the mainstream audiences. I believe this was the first Australian film to be distributed worldwide. The film was nominated for multiple AFI awards, including Best Picture and Best Director. It was gorgeously shot by cinematographer Russell Boyd, who also won Best Cinematography at the 76 BAFTAs. Now, the one goal that Peter Weir and cinematographer Russell Boyd had was to show the trueness and the harshness of how the Australian landscape looks, with its blazing harsh sun and harshness of landscapes. In fact, Picnic at Hanging Rock was filmed on location where Hanging Rock is, to really showcase and give audiences who aren't familiar with Australia a true sense of what the area really looks like. And this is where the problem with a Criterion release comes in. The Criterion Blu-ray was released back in 2018, and you know, I hate to break it to you, but Criterion doesn't always remain faithful to the original source material. I know a lot of you Criterion lovers are having a heart attack right now, but they don't always stay true. In fact, there's been Criterions that have had multiple problems that other labels have fixed, and this is definitely one example. In fact, much of the Criterion Blu-ray carries a bluish tint wash over the image that softens the harshness of Australia. Of course, that was never intended to be used. Also, some of the brush and grass of landscapes and trees has a more lush green tone to it, which is also inaccurate. Areas such as where Hanging Rock is in Australia just does not look like this. Instead of green, it's much more dry and earthy tones, even with grass and brush. So the Criterion Blu-ray had the wrong color grading, including the wrong aspect ratio of 1:85:1 when it was framed at 1:66:1. And to ensure accuracy of this new 4K restoration, Peter Weir and cinematographer Russell Boyd both worked closely with this restoration, giving the film a new 4K restoration from the original 35mm negative that was done at the National Film and Sound Archive of Australia, forming a new native 4K DI with HDR10 color grading, no Dolby Vision this time, and also the intended director-approved theatrical aspect ratio of 1:66:1. Now, I know what you might be thinking right now is, okay, this restoration took place in Australia, then shouldn't labels like Umbrella be releasing this instead of Second Sight? Well, Second Sight was the one that ended up getting the rights to distribute and release this 4K, and the Australian Film and Sound Archive sent Second Sight the new restoration. And what's really great about this release is that they included both the theatrical cut and the director's cut with the same 4K transfer, so there's no difference there. What's interesting, though, is that unlike usual, where the director's cut is typically longer, sometimes much longer than the theatrical cut, this time around, the director's cut for Picnic at Hanging Rock is about 8-9 minutes shorter. And there's a big reason for that I'm going to get more into in my movie review video. So if you're curious about that, check out that video that'll be coming soon. Also, as I said at the top of this video, this box set comes with a rigid box with new artwork and some nice swag. And I will be doing an unboxing and a whole rundown of the special features at the end of the review. All right, so let's get into it and take a closer look between the 2018 Criterion Blu-ray that I ended up not having in front of me. I must have left it in the home theater room. I just got done comparing the two. But anyways, let's take a closer look between the Criterion 2018 Blu-ray and this new second sight 4K UHD. Let's get to it. But let's dig into the color reproduction, because this is the area that's really worth talking about. There's some major improvements here. The HDR10 color grading really opens up the color gamut much wider with this 4K, while still remaining completely faithful to the original source material and the intended colors. First off, the image does look very, just a touch, just very slightly darker than the Criterion Blu-ray. But this isn't caused from a poor transfer. Instead, the very slightly darker image is done for a purpose. There's a reason behind it, and that is to create much greater depth. This is especially noticeable when the girls explore Hanging Rock around the 27-30 minute mark. Also, the contrast really opens all this up significantly, enhancing the clarity of details and colors. There's now much more depth in the shadows, but at the same time never diminishing the brighter end of the color palette. Again, this is just a significant improvement over the Criterion Blu-ray. Now, the second issue with the Criterion Blu-ray is the blue tint wash over the night scenes and other scenes as well that just did not look natural or very good. This has been completely removed, and now we have much more natural color tones that's much more consistent with the rest of the aesthetic of the film, and night scenes look much more natural now with a more natural night sky. So thankfully, no more blue wash. Primary colors look much more faithful here and natural to the Australian landscape, looking much warmer and vibrant. The saturation has also been increased slightly, enhancing all the color tones without it ever looking manipulated or too harsh, where we now have a very lifelike and natural color palette. The contrast between the rock and the sky is now more evident with some nice color spacing, which was also an issue with the Criterion Blu-ray. Skin tones are also warmer and looking much more lifelike and natural here. Now, a really nice reference point is the black levels that are those deep inky blacks with some exquisite rich shadows that we all love to see, especially when we're in the shadows and crevices of the rocks. It just looks gorgeous. The image is clear and sharp, drawing out a lot of texture in the darker areas of the screen, which adds a much more tremendous sense of depth and greater three-dimensionality to the image. However, there is one thing to note here with this 4K. I did notice some very slight blooming in the brightest highlights, such as shots of the intense sunlight and also spots in the skyline, whereas in the same scenes on the Criterion Blu-ray, it didn't have this issue. However, this again is very slight blooming issues that I found, and it's only in a couple minor areas here and there, and really, unless you're looking for it, you're probably not going to notice it. Now, a huge improvement over the Criterion Blu-ray is with the finer detail levels that have been tightened up considerably with razor-sharp clarity, and I didn't notice any artificial sharpening done, showing much greater texture with sharper lines. Facial close-ups just look outstanding, now showing much greater texture in skin and facial close-ups, finer wrinkles under the eyes, makeup, even down to noticeable pores and little imperfections. Other finer details, such as the long shot of the school, we can clearly make out the brickwork, and Hanging Rock itself, clearly making out cracks and imperfections down to the tiniest pebble on the ground. Also details of plants, also wildlife, from lizards, spiders, birds, koalas. All of this is more readily apparent and clearly visible now. The amount and level of detail on display with this 4K looks absolutely stunning and completely showing off the cinematography beautifully. However, I will say I did notice some noticeable grain field fluctuation with this 4K, with some slight grain management done. There's honestly a number of different scenes where grain is clearly absent, giving these scenes a touch of a waxiness, a little waxy look to it. However, outside of these scenes, the majority of the presentation does have consistent level of grain, giving a nice filmic appearance, and the bit rate ranges from 66 peaking around 70. This is how you expect an almost 50-year-old movie to look being restored in 4K, and it's absolutely stunning. All right, well, let's get into the audio presentation. And there is a new 5.1 mix that is exclusively only for the director's cut that was supervised by director Peter Weir. The original stereo track is exclusively on the theatrical cut on the second disc. Now, I am going to focus on the new 5.1 mix since the director's cut is Peter Weir's preferred version and is the version that I use to compare. Now, given the sound design is almost entirely front-end heavy, the surrounds are really only used for the film's score and some minor atmospherics. The LFE bass level has an interesting design to it, especially during a couple of scenes where the bass almost mimics a heartbeat, giving a sense of a lot of anxiety and mystery to the scene. There's also some good bass with the film's score. Outside of that, though, the bass and the surrounds just aren't used very much. The overall mix is nicely balanced with some nice dynamic range to it, and the dialogue is rendered crisp, clean, and clear without music or sound effects ever drowning out the dialogue, and object placement sounds perfect. It's exactly where everything is supposed to be. So while this 5.1 mix isn't going to give your home theater system a good workout, and it's not particularly reference worthy, it's still a perfect complement with the video presentation. Alright, so my score for Picnic at Hanging Rock 4K UHD presentation, I'm giving the video a 4.5 out of a 5, and the audio presentation, I'm giving it a 5 out of a 5. Alright, head over to the comment section and let me know, because I'm really curious on your opinion here with this 4K. When you look at the differences here between the Criterion 2018 Blu-ray and this new 4K UHD, which do you think looks better? Which is your preferred format? Let me know over in the comments. Alright, well, if you're like me and you like to see what's all included in these box sets up close and personal, and a rundown of the special features, then you're in for a real treat, because we're about to dig into this. I'm going to switch over to the other camera so we can get a nice close-up view of everything that's included in here, especially the artwork, which is beautiful. So let's switch over to the other camera. Alright, so first off, we have this nice rigid box with this newly commissioned artwork here. I love this artwork here where it looks like an oil painting. Just beautiful. And the detail, the intricacy of the strands of hair, the dress, the outline of the face. I mean, it just looks perfect. It looks beautiful. On the spine here, we have the title of the film, Picnic at Hanging Rock. And the back, there isn't much here. Alright, so first we're going to take a look at where the discs are stored, and this folds out. And first of all, let's take a look at this artwork. Again, just beautiful, beautiful artwork of Hanging Rock. I love, again, the oil painting look of this artwork. Disc 1 holds the director's cut and supplemental material. Disc 2 is also the 4K UHD with the theatrical cut, and then the last two discs are region locked, Region B Blu-rays that holds the director's cut on disc 1 and the theatrical cut on disc 2. And next up, this is a really nice addition to this box set, and that is the inclusion of the Picnic at Hanging Rock novel. So this is just awesome. I absolutely love that they included the book with this box set. It's really nice to read along with the book while watching the movie as well. It just makes a nice companion to the film. And then next up we have a 130-page booklet. Has interviews with film historians and film critics such as Kate Ellinger, Justine Smith, and we also have a nice segment with Peter Weir talking about this 4K restoration. And lastly, we have character art cards. This is some stills of the characters. And then we also have some cards with the newly commissioned artwork on there. All right, now let's run down the special features. It includes audio commentaries by film historians Alexander Heller Nicholson and also a new 2023 feature-length documentary on the film. We also have 3 2023 interviews with some of the cast and crew, and also an archival interview with the author of the book. And we have a featurette about the history of the real Hanging Rock, outtakes, and as usual, we have theatrical trailer and teaser. Second Sight knocks it out of the park again with this 4K release box set. I mean, it's everything you could want as a physical media lover, collector, film lover, whatever you want to call yourselves. This is why we collect physical media. You don't get this with streaming. Also, I don't believe that the new 4K restoration is available on streaming. You're getting the wrong color grading if you stream this. Alright guys, thanks so much for hanging out with me for a few minutes here and talking about and comparing Picnic at Hanging Rock. As always, keep physical media alive. I'll see you next time.